what's the importance of the role of Mr. Elon Musk in this? So, it's all fun and games, but here's a human who tweets about the importance of freedom of speech and buys Twitter. What are your thoughts on the influence, the positive and the negative possible consequences of this particular action?
So, if he is going to succeed if he's going to be one of the major reasons why we decarbonize quickly and why we get to Mars, then I'm willing to cut him a lot of slack. So I have an overall positive view of him. Yeah. Now, where I'm concerned and where I'm critical is we're in the middle of a raging culture war. And this culture war is making our institutions stupid. It's making them fail. This culture war, I think, could destroy our country. And by destroy, I mean we could descend into constant constitutional crises, a lot more violence. Not that we're going to disappear, not that we're going to kill each other, but I think there will be a lot more violence. So we're in the middle of this raging culture war. It's possibly turning to violence. You need to not add fuel to the fire. And the fact that he declared that he's going to be a Republican and the Democrats are the bad party. And, as an individual citizen, he's entitled to his opinion, of course. But as an influential citizen, he should at least be thoughtful. And more importantly, companies need, and I think would benefit from a Geneva Convention for the culture war, in which, because they're all being damaged by the culture war coming into the companies. Mm-hmm. What we need to get to, I hope, is a place where companies they have strong ethical obligations about the effects that they cause, about how they treat their employees, about their supply chain. They have strong ethical obligations, but they should not be weighing in on culture war issues.
Well, if I can read the exact tweet, because part of the tweet I like, he said, "In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party. Mm-hmm. But they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican." And then he finishes with, "Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold." Okay.
What do you make of that? Like, what do you think he was thinking that he came out so blatantly as a partisan?
Because he's probably communicating with the board, with the people inside Twitter, and he's clearly seeing the lean. And he's responding to that lean. He's also opening the door to the potential bringing back the former
Donald
president
Trump,
onto the platform, and also bringing back, which he's probably looking at the numbers of the people who are behind Truth Social, saying that, okay, it seems that there's a strong lean in Twitter in terms of the left. Mm-hmm. And in fact, from what I see, it seems like the current operation of Twitter is the extremes of the left get outraged by something, and the extremes of the right point out how the left is ridiculous. Like that seems to be the mechanism, mm-hmm. and then it's that's the source of the drama, and then the left gets very mad at the right that mm-hmm. points out the ridiculousness, and there's this vicious kind of cycle.
Exactly. That's the polarization cycle. That's what we're in.
There's something that happened here there's a shift where there's a decline, I would say, in both parties towards being shitty.
Yeah. Okay, but look, whatever you think about the parties, that's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is, should the most important CEO in America, the CEO of some of our biggest and most important companies, so let's imagine 5 years from now, two different worlds. In one world, the CEO of every Fortune 500 company has said, "I'm a Republican because I hate those douchebags," or "I'm a Democrat because I hate those Nazi racists." Yeah. That's one world where everybody puts up a thing in their window. It's culture war everywhere, all the time, 24 hours a day. You pick a doctor based on whether he's red or blue. Everything is culture war. That's one possible future which we're headed towards. The other is we say, you know what? Political conflict should be confined to political spaces. There is a room for protest, but you don't go protesting at people's private homes. You don't go threatening their children. You don't go doxing them. Sure. We have to have channels that are not culture war all the time. When you go shopping, when you go to a restaurant, you shouldn't be yelled at and screamed at. When you buy a product, you should be able to buy products from an excellent company. You shouldn't have to always think, what's the CEO? What an insane world, but that's where we're heading. So I think that Elon did a really bad thing in launching that tweet. That was, I think, really throwing fuel on a fire and setting a norm in which businesses are going to get even more politicized than they are.
And you're saying specifically the problem was that he picked a side.
as the head of as the CEO, as the head of several major companies, of course we can find out what his views are. It's not like I mean, actually with him it's maybe hard to know, but it's not that a CEO can't be a partisan or have views, but to publicly declare it in that way, in such a really insulting way, this is throwing fuel on the fire, and it's setting a precedent that corporations are major players in the culture war. And I'm trying to reverse that. We've got to pull back from that.
Let me play devil's advocate here. So, because I've gotten a chance to interact with quite a few CEOs, there is also a value for authenticity. So I'm guessing this was written while sitting on the toilet, and I could see in a day from now saying, "LOL, just kidding." There's a humor, there's a lightness, there's a chaos element, and chaos is not.
Yeah, that's not what we need right now. We don't need more chaos.
Well, so yes, there's a balance here. The chaos isn't engineered chaos; it's really authentically who he is. And I would like to say that
I agree with that.
That's a trade-off, because if you become a politician, so there's a trade-off between, in this case, maybe authenticity and civility, maybe like being calculating about the impact you have with your words versus just being yourself. And I'm not sure calculating is also a slippery slope. Both are slippery slopes. You have to be careful.
So when we have conversations in a vacuum and we just say, like, what should a person do? Those are very hard. But our world is actually structured into domains and institutions. And if it's just like, talking here among our friends, like we should be authentic, sure. But the CEO of a company has fiduciary duties, legal fiduciary duties to the company. He owes loyalty to the company. And if he is using the company for his own political gain or other purposes or social standing, that's a violation of his fiduciary duty to the company. Now, there's debate among scholars whether your fiduciary duty is to the shareholders. I don't think it's to the shareholders. I think many legal experts say it's the company is a legal person. You have duties to the company. Employees owe a duty to the company. So he's got those duties, and I think you can say he's being authentic, but he's also violating those duties. So it's not necessarily he's violating a law by doing it, but he certainly is shredding any notion of professional ethics around leadership of a company in the modern age.
I think you have to take it in the full context, because you see that he's not being a political player. He's just saying, quit being douchey.
Suppose the CEO of Ford says, you know what? Let's pick a group. Well, I shouldn't do a racial group because that would be different. Let's just say, you know what? Left-handed people are douchebags. I hate them. Like, why would you say that? Like, why would you drag away left-handed people?
What you said now is not either funny or lighthearted, because I hate them. It wasn't funny. I'm not picking on you. I'm saying that statement. Words matter. There's a lightness to the statement in the full context. If you look at the timeline of the man, there's ridiculous memes and there's nonstop jokes. My big problem with the CEO of Ford is there's never any of that. Not only is there any of that, there's not a celebration of the beauty of the engineering of the different products. It's all political speak channeled through multiple meetings of PR. There's levels upon levels upon levels where you think that it's really not authentic. And there you're actually, by being polite, by being civil, you're actually playing politics, because all of your actual political decision making is done in the back channels. That's obvious. Here's a human being authentic and actually struggling with some of the ideas and having fun with it. I think this lightness represents the kind of positivity that we should be striving for. It's funny to say that, because you're looking at these statements and they seem negative, but in the full context of social media, I don't know if they are.
Okay, but look at what you just said. In the full context, you're taking his tweets in context. You know who doesn't do that? Twitter. Like, that's the Twitter.
Well, that's the fundamental
rule
problem.
Of Twitter is there is no context. Everything is taken in the maximum possible way. There is no context.
Oh, you're saying,
so this is not like, yes, I wish we did take people in context. I wish we lived in that world. But now that we have Twitter and Facebook, we don't live in that world anymore.
So you're saying it is a bit of a responsibility for people with a large platform to consider the fact that there is the fundamental mechanism of Twitter where people don't give you the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I don't want to hang it on a large platform, because then that's what a lot of people say, like, well, she shouldn't say that because she has a large platform and she should say things that agree with my politics. I don't want to hang it on large platform. I want to hang it on CEO of a company. CEOs of a company have duties and responsibilities. And Scott Galloway, I think, is very clear about this. He criticized Elon a lot as being a really bad role model for young men. Young men need role models, and he is a very appealing, attractive role model.
So I agree with you, but in terms of being a role model, I think I don't want to put a responsibility on people, but yes, he could be a much, much better role model.
To insult sitting senators by calling them old, that's,
Yeah, I won't do a both sidism of like, well, those senators can be assholes too.
Yeah,
but
yes,
that's fair enough. Respond intelligently, as I tweeted, to unintelligent treatment. Yes. So the reason I like, and he's now a friend, the reason I like Elon is because of the engineering, because of the work he does.
Mm-hmm. No, I admire him enormously for that.
But what I admire on the Twitter side is the authenticity, because I've been a little bit jaded and worn out by people who have built up walls, people in the position of power, the CEOs and the politicians who built up walls, and you don't see the real person. That's one of the reasons I love long form podcasting especially if you talk more than 10 minutes, it's hard to have a wall up.
Yeah.
It all kind of crumbles away. So I don't know, but yes, you're right. That is a step backwards to say, at least to me, the biggest problem is to pick sides, to say, I'm not going to vote this way or that way. That's, leave that to the politicians. You have much, like the importance of social media is far bigger than the bickering, the short-term bickering of any one political party. It's a platform where we make progress, where we develop ideas through sort of rigorous discourse, all those kinds of things.